A very warm welcome to the new episode of Ink and Insights. This is your host, Sumit Sharma Samir. This platform aims to invite global thought leaders and also promote Nepali change makers of diverse field. So please subscribe to the channel. This week, my guest is Anushka Shrestha. Anushka is the title holder of Miss World Nepal 2019, co-founder and CEO of Makkuse, a Nepali luxury dessert brand aiming to put the unique taste of Nepali desserts on the international culinary map. She also currently works as the regional manager Nepal for ACU and Australian Public University. A commerce graduate, Anushka is a social entrepreneur and an avid learner. She completed her bachelor's degree from Sydney, Australia, and is passionate about capability development. Anushka, welcome to the Ink and Insights with Sumit Sarma Samir.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
How have you been? How are you?
I am well, thank you. It's a warm winter morning here in Kathmandu. And as I was saying offline, I'm deeply honored to be sharing this space with you and with your esteemed guests. Just before my 29th birthday, the kind of things that I get the opportunity to be part of, I'm
Right.
sometimes really surprised, and it's a blessed life to be able to share that space and to be included in a podcast that hosts such amazing people. So thank you for the honor and the invite.
Wonderful, Anushka. It's also my pleasure to have people like you to showcase in my platform so that people outside who are watching us would understand Nepal in its entirety and the kind of efforts that new generation is putting into the Nepali society. So, welcome to the show. What's keeping you busy these days, Anushka?
Oh, a few things. We've got what, a week left in December. And as it does, reflection is keeping me busy these days. I think in the
Wonderful.
past 5 years, I've made it a practice to really reflect very timely, including yearly things, especially when one wears a few hats, such as I do at the moment. So, in reflecting things, looking at how the small business, Makkuse, that has turned for this year, what we've done
Right.
so far, what's working, what we can do better. Also, actively on the university side of things, reflecting at how that job bit has gone. I also work actively in Sindhu Palchok, which was a project that I started during the Miss Nepal year back in 2019, and we've been actively engaged since then as well. So that is
Right.
there. So this week, we've opened up two new stores for Makkuse, one in Pokhara and one in Lalitpur in Samsik Hills, serving Nepali desserts as is, but also redefined and amping that up. So that's kept
Right.
me really busy. We're also going to Sindhapalchok in a couple of days to open up a computer lab there. And we've got our first graduate from the village where we've worked for the past 5 years. Our teacher that
Wonderful.
we've supported for the past 5 years, she's graduated. So we've got a felicitation program for her. Exciting stuff.
Right, right. Anushka, I think Miss World Nepal 2019 was a significant milestone in your life. How did winning the title shape your personal and professional journey?
The conversation around pageantry means different things in different countries. So I realized when I was representing Nepal, I had the opportunity to represent Nepal amidst 120 countries in London in 2019. And for me, and for Nepal, like how is pageantry looked at? I believe in some countries, such as say the Philippines or a lot of South America, it's a sport. You've got
Right.
pageant coaches, you're there to win. In many countries, it is a gateway to the media, and that's absolutely fine as well. You get into movies and all of that. In some countries, I found it interesting that I had friends and contestants who said, "We're here just for our CV. I just want to amp it up. I'm
Oh,
here for
wow.
my personal development."
Right.
And I said, that's very interesting that different people come in for different things. Why I chose to get into pageantry and how that has shaped my personal and professional life is that I was a banker in Australia when I left all that to come participate in Miss Nepal. Um,
Right.
and the reason why I wanted to do it is that in the context of Nepal, I find pageantry to be a stage and a platform that gets a lot of love, attention, support, which is accompanied by its set of expectations, but it undoubtedly gets a lot of attention, support to do the kind of
Absolutely.
things that a young person can do. So my intention for leaving that bank job and coming back to Nepal was that I can really utilize this platform to create some kind of impact, which has always been a lifelong value and a lifelong dream as well. So I think that has been, as you rightly said, a very big milestone. I think the biggest
Mhm.
way that it's impacted my personal life is that it has allowed me to get clarity on what I like and what I'm good at, and where
Interesting.
I could perhaps add most value. Besides
Mhm.
from the fact that it's given me the opportunity to see a lot of Nepal in a very short period of time. If I
Right.
compare, if I had, I love analogies, and I often say that pageantry for me was like drinking cordial straight out of the bottle without diluting it, because it was intense experiences in a matter of just a couple of months. So it
Right.
has given me clarity about, because the kind of activities that we get to engage in while
Right.
being in the pageantry journey, a community project, so much about media presentation, engaging with young people, getting access to engage with people in the government as well. So it was a great way, the most unique way I think that I got to explore, what am I good at? What do I like?
Right.
Where could I best put myself to use to serve the country and the community that I so want to do?
Sure. Sure. And from being Miss Nepal at that point of time, what inspired you to suddenly change your focus and venture into the luxury desert business and co-found Makuse?
It's interesting because I absolutely understand from the outside, it seems like a very much a jump ship, right? It's
Right.
completely different. Especially if you look back to banking, then pageantry, then suddenly I call myself a glorified halwai, which is a halwai is basically a traditional speech maker, right? And I am that, a very proud one at that. So I actually see a lot of similarity and a lot of a gradual and a natural progression of things in these occupations or work, so to say. And that's because what I was perhaps doing, maybe at the bank as well, and even as Miss Nepal and even as Makkuse,
Mhm.
is resource management. I see that commonality is that I'm really excited by creating value and
Mhm.
utilizing what resources we have, especially local resources, and
Right.
taking Nepal global. If I look at my pageantry journey, particularly, I see more similarity than differences in pageantry and doing Makkusé, because I always say to do good work, you actually don't need a gown and 7 inches of heels and like big hair to do
True.
community work. But the packaging helps. I've realized that when that helps you get that attention to do the kind of work that you want to do. And
Right.
if it is just the outside, it won't sustain. So the outside helps get perhaps that initial attention, support, but then you've got to have substance inside to continue it. If I look at Makkusé, that takes indigenous Nepali recipes that were almost getting extinct. So the signature products that we have are our pustakari, our gudpak, which
Mm.
are desserts that are based from condensed milk mostly. Those would
Yeah.
be, see, from my parents' generation, that is the taste of their childhood. That is what people would say when you come back from Kathmandu, which was sort of the center of everything in Nepal for not until not very long ago as well, unfortunately. That would be
Exactly.
the taste of Kathmandu that you take back. And if when I came back, I stayed 5 years in Australia. So when I came back, I was really looking after pageantry, especially. I was looking at a way to channel all this energy that we've created, one, to support Nepal. Say during the
Mm.
pageant, we would say, oh, look at me, vote for Nepal, look at this, look at that. And I'm maybe being a commerce graduate as well. I'm resource best utilization, optimum utilization of resources excites me. Such a nerd.
Yeah.
So I said, where can we channel all this great energy into? And in looking for things, this idea of Nepali authentic recipes having almost lost their space in the current Nepali market, especially amongst young people.
Exactly.
That was suggested by a very good friend, and then we had a group of people that were very passionate about Nepali indigenous desserts. So that is how I guess I transitioned or sort of utilized the learnings from my pageantry journey, especially around and how Makkuse has been branded and the reason we call it authentic Nepali luxurious desserts. So those learnings from pageantry that the outside attention helps, hey, while that's not absolutely significant or necessary, critical, or may not seem to do the kind of work that needs to be done, community work in the pageantry context, it helps, especially in positioning things, things that are supposed to express national identity. So that is how it transitioned. And I find more similarity than differences in doing pageantry and doing Makkusé.
Right, right. Anushka, it's really, really very interesting for me to kind of, listen to the interpretation that you just made, because people generally from your generation tend not to look into the wealth that we bring from our parents. You kind of went to explore the deserts, the food, which is closely associated with the way we are brought up, closely associated with our culture, right? So, why did you felt that you need to be rooted in that culture and need to bring in that culture and food habits and showcase it to the outside world?
I've always been fascinated by all things Nepali, including my particular ethnicity, which my family belongs to, which is the Newar ethnicity. And more I'm getting intrigued by other ethnicities and indigenous groups as well. I also find globally as well that there is a trend of people going back looking for their roots, be it in terms of what their identity is. That has sort of become the hot topic globally as well, right?
Right.
Nepal is such a cultural country that even if somebody is religious or not, there's so much culture involved, especially the way that I've been brought up in the Newar community. Every fortnight, there's something to be celebrated. Yeah. So I think that, combined with the curiosity and the questioning that we had, which is also always supported by my family, I think that it was never that, just the priest has said so just, be quiet and do it. Our questions were encouraged. So I think that curiosity led me to believe that, hey, as much as, you're right, a lot of people from not just my generation perhaps, but a little bit above my generation and a lot younger than me as well, question a lot of our rituals, traditions, cultures, because there is no explanation attached to it. And questioning is considered being rude almost, like how dare you question the culture, just follow it. And that discourages or doesn't encourage young people from wanting to engage with our own things. I find conversations at home since I was young was very interesting. We were always allowed to explore. So that just built up my curiosity. I find that so many of our traditions, be it from the smallest of things, such as why do we go around a temple from the right-hand side, to why do we put a tikka here, of why was it that we started doing the Surya Darshan, which is a part of our culture where young girls get married to the sun. It is so interesting and so logical, and there is so much pride in celebrating that. I think that is the reason why I was gravitated towards it. But also another thing is the brand Nepal and so many things Nepali, and I'm sure that similar to so many other indigenous cultures as well, is very strong. And if a Nepali doesn't utilize it, somebody else will. If I'm not mistaken, the Kathmandu brand, which is an adventure clothing brand, is not owned by a Nepali. Like, it's out there in Australia, everywhere. And I used to see it. And the first time I saw the brand Kathmandu, I was like, wait, that's Kathmandu, and it's got all the mountains of Nepal. And
I know. I felt the same.
Right? And I said, it's not by a Nepali person. So the Nepali brand and so many things in it are so strong that somebody will utilize it.
Sure.
So why not it be a Nepali?
तिमीसँग अब धेरै टाइम छैन है बिहे गर्नु छ भने गरिहाल नत्र घरबाट मलाई अन्त्य बिहे गर्दिनु भर्खर 3 वर्ष भयो एमबीबीएस जोइन गरेको 5 वर्षको कोर्स हो के भो जम्मा छ एक्सक्युज मी सर मेरो 5 वर्षको कोर्स 3 वर्षमा सकाउन मिल्दैन
गेट आउट
हेलो के सोच्यो त के सोच्ने मैले प्रिन्सिपलसँग पनि कुरा गरिसके 3 वर्षमा पनि के हुन्छ 3 वर्षमा
के भयो भाइ ल बस साउजी एक कप चिया कसले भन्यो 3 वर्षमा केही हुँदैन भनेर यो हेर एलआइसी नेपालको धनवृष्टि योजनामा 3 वर्षमा पैसा फिर्ता हुन्छ
ए हो र
जीवन बीमाको साथमा धनवृष्टि 3 वर्षमा एलआइसी नेपालको धनवृष्टि योजना एलआइसी नेपाल
And what challenges you faced in introducing, traditional Nepali flavors to a global audience, and how have you overcome them?
I would say that in the 4 years, we feel that we have started definitely walking on the right direction, but there is a very long way to go. In the foods, in the technical side of things, the world is sort of moving into more plant-based diets and more sort of foreign vegan things. So having a completely milk-based dessert was, I think, a challenge to begin with. Having said that, one of my learnings, biggest learnings in doing this small business is, as opposed to what we're traditionally taught, especially in business schools, where a lot of research, you've got to create your target audience, your TG, and your perfect customer, and sort of curate every activity around that hypothetical customer. You've got to throw things in the market and see that who responds and how they respond, because it might actually be very different to what the assumption might be, because it's such a dynamic marketplace. And I think in the first couple of years that we did that, we found the results to be more positive than we anticipated. So that has very much helped. One of our biggest challenges definitely has been supply chain, because we have a saying in Nepali which says, you can't even make a needle in Nepal, like everything's imported.
Yeah.
And manufacturing in Nepal, I feel like, oh my God, if someone tries to manufacture a needle, then you'll realize why it's not made, because there is the supply chain and the manufacturing process is very, very challenging, from having vendors agree to sign agreements. And you understand the context as well of where that almost, I wouldn't say distrust, but the inability to trust comes from. We have not very long ago come from a time where a lot of, it was very turbulent. Our history, our political history and our stability is fairly recent. So for people, especially in rural Nepal, who manufacture so many of our raw materials, to go out there, sign something, and feel that sense of security is very difficult. So getting that vendor trust is difficult. We still hear news about how, say, in the area that my raw material comes from, which is milk, we see dairy farmers having to protest because they're not getting their dues. So, the farmers that have not had their dues cleared from big companies, how can I expect them to feel confident to sign something with me and believe me that, hey, I will do things? So it has to be very, very sort of cash-based, and that's why it becomes challenging to then scale up.
Right.
Because to scale up and do things in volume, you really need that vendor trust and that sort of operational efficiency and supply chain, which is hampered by the inability to trust in the market.
Right. And what makes, Makkusé's desserts unique compared to other luxury desserts brands worldwide?
I would say that it's an abundant market. There's enough space for everybody, and everybody's got a unique palate on different occasions as well. So someday I might be craving just a dark chocolate bar, and then it might not cut it. Someday I might just be craving like a citrus thing, and that might not cut it. So I think that it is. I wouldn't say that, hey, we're the best. I don't think I need to say that, hey, we're the best luxury desserts brand that's out there. It's an abundant space. We have a long way to go. But what I would say is that Makkuse is very excited to be placing a taste of Nepal out there in the global culinary map as well. What would perhaps be the most unique is, wow, if we look at our ingredients list, it is so simple and it is very skills based, which
Right.
perhaps is the case for many desserts. So if we look at even chocolate for that matter, it is very, very skills based. There is so much technical advancement to be done in that space a lot, because a lot of our recipes and our teachings are verbal. If you go to a hospitality, you do a hospitality course, you will learn how to make the perfect red velvet cake, the perfect black forest, biscuits and whatnot, but there is no written recipe for these indigenous desserts.
Right.
So there is a space for that. And if we look at some other recipes that have been rooted in culture, such as the mooncake or baklavas, or even dates for that matter, right? Dates from the Middle East, French pastry. If we look at how long their history is, it will take us time to refine ourselves so much to be out there, but it's the beginning of something good.
Right, right. And Anushka, could you share the story behind one of your signature desserts and what it represents about Nepali culture?
So our offerings, actually, I say that we've got an untouched past, a playful present, and then an innovative future, because we wanted to offer a range that could cater to everybody, but also get them started. And where I think most people either start from the untouched past, which is the pustakari that we have. It's a hard candy. It's got, you think you're going to bite into it, but you can't, because it's a hard toffee-like candy, and then it sort of slowly gets chewy and melts into an umami flavor. That we've tried to get as authentic as the recipe as possible. And the best compliments that we get from people is that, oh, I haven't had this original of a pustakari. The last time I probably had it was 40 years ago when I brought it from Kathmandu. So that's there. Then we've got a little bit of a playful present where we have the good pack, which is a fudge-like thing, but we've infused it with coffee and rose water, so those sort of things. And then we've actually taken the good pack and stuffed it into cookies. So we've got these selection of cookies, this dark chocolate fudge, this oatmeal pumpkin seeds, cranberry cookies, and semolina cookies, all stuffed with that good pack. So these are the offerings that we've had. What's exciting is that the recipes were developed by a very dear friend of mine who is actually studying public health. It graduated, postgraduate in public health under an Erasmus scholarship. So that's like that's the story there. So yeah, I think that the recipes that we have, it was not taking up the space that it should. The gullies of Kathmandu, that my parents say that, the moment you stepped into that locality, you could just smell how warm and you could just smell the fat. That has reduced to somewhere in the shelf, maybe. And if you look at it, as I said earlier, there's space for everybody, but not at the cost of perhaps removing space for ourselves. I find it interesting that currently in mostly Kathmandu and a lot of cities in Nepal as well, that there is a bubble tea corner in every second shop, right?
I see that, yeah.
And our biggest malls have Belgian waffle in the middle, right?
Right.
And what happened to our desserts? Like, what happened? Now, if we had introduced it and the people said we actually don't like it, then we'd be like, oh, okay, it got extinct because it wasn't keeping up to the global taste. But the fact that when people had it, they said, oh my God, this is great, we've missed this.
True.
There is space.
Yeah. And, as a CEO of the company, what strategies have you employed to position your company as a luxury brand on the global stage?
I would say that the definition of both luxury and brand in the context of Nepal is sometimes very much misunderstood to be quite just the price point. That it is something that maybe isn't that great, but just as expensive. That is a common perception when you hear the words both luxury as well as brand. I think my main focus is to redefine what luxury means and what a brand means. we see that as our diaspora increases, and my time in Australia as a student really helped me sort of understand that, that's what a brand means, and that's what luxury means, and what the capacity to have supposed economic background can afford of things. Luxury is treating yourself, making yourself feel special, and sometimes that happens when you go out and you buy yourself that little scoop of something that you like so much. You save up for something because that's what you like to do. You give somebody something special because you want them to feel special. So I think that has been one of the biggest strategic efforts. Also, I'm very mindful as the CEO here to make sure that we're rooted, that we don't get swayed by trends of things, that we don't get swayed by, let's just do this because that's like trending right now in terms of product development or things.
Right.
So being rooted in the brand of authentic Nepali luxury, and all three words being as important as the other, I think that has helped us stay focused, stay rooted. Also, a few things that we are very much particular about is our vendor sourcing. So we do a lot of festive gifting as well. It's interesting that we have Valentine's Day packs now, and people give pustakari now on Valentine's Day. How exciting is that? And Father's Day packs, and we've got Mage Sankranti boxes and baskets coming up, and our vendor selection process and our preferences are very, very important. That it's going to be Nepali. We look at women suppliers as much as possible. We look at who is the vendor, how are they making it, what is their story. So every opportunity, small or big, that we get to support somebody that we want to support, we use that. And I feel that strategy, while it was not intended as a strategy, it was more of a value. I feel like that has helped stay us brand aligned, and that continues to be the strategy, so to say.
Right. Anushka, I completely agree with you when you say value is more important, rest will follow, right? When you wanted to reach or stand up or keep doing for something that you adore from inside, rest, I think, will follow. That's what has happened in my life as well. So I completely could relate with what you are saying. Where do you see yourself and your company in next 5 years' time?
I would say that we definitely need to industrialize our production particularly of our signature product. And in the next 5 years, I would see that the manufacturing side of things has a lot more automation in it, while keeping the taste and the essence of the product intact. I would love to see, and I think that is, I wouldn't say in the next 5 years, but definitely within the next 10 years, I would love to see Makkuse in major cities, global cities, especially where Nepali diaspora resides. So I'm thinking Sydney, I'm thinking cities in America, where you could have Nepali desserts, Nepali drinks, and it becomes a global brand in there as well. When we think of exporting Makkuse, I would want to see it positioned perhaps not in a general South Asian grocery store in a corner somewhere. I want it to take center stage. I think everything that Nepal has to offer, we've got to be bold enough, confident enough to take up center stage.
Exactly. We wish you good luck for that. And Anushka, my last question to you is, how do you like your journey from Miss World Nepal to CEO to inspire the next generation of Nepalese youth?
I quite like it. I'm very humbled, but I think that it is definitely inspiring many, because personally for me, it has been a personal journey of finding more clarity of where I could be of best use to serve not just the community and the country, but add value, because I feel like one life, you've just got to add as much value as you can during your time here. Exactly. And in that personal journey, the fact that it has become perhaps a little bit more than that, it has ended up becoming perhaps inspiring a few more people to look inward within our own country, within our own things. I'm very grateful for that opportunity. And I look forward to what the future holds.
Right, right. Anushka, on that note, I would like to wish you all the best for your future. In fact, a very happy new year to you and all the colleagues that are working for you in the upcoming new year. We would really want to see your product going far beyond to a lot
Thank you so
many
much.
to across the countries to Nepali diasporas and beyond that as well. And thank you once again for your time. I'm really honored to have you in my show.
Thank you so much for having me. Wish you and your team a very, very happy holidays, happy new year. Take care.
Thanks, Anushka.